Welcome back to another episode of the Sporty Friend. I'm Danny Bellamy, and it just makes sense that we start the channel with the Women's Euros 2025 in Switzerland. And I just don't want to talk about what it's happening and who's playing who and the group, the quarterfinals, and who's advancing and who's playing. What caught my eye, especially for this episode, was the jerseys, the kits, what the girls are wearing on and off the pitch these Euros. Why? Because historically, girls in football mainly, their jerseys have been neglected, you can say. They have been forgotten, and it's only very recently that the brands are designing specifically for the women's national teams. Let's not even get into the clubs. We're just talking about the national teams because that's another story, maybe for another episode, because that's a whole other mess itself. Let's focus on the national teams and specifically the ones that are playing right now at the Euros. Like the best jerseys, what I think they're the best ones so far during this tournament, and the ones and what is happening around them. What is the marketing behind it and why I want to talk about them. Years ago, and not that far away, I'm going to talk about 10 years ago, the jerseys were 10, 15 years, the jerseys were neglected and forgotten, and the women were wearing basically the men's jerseys. So there was nothing designed specifically for them. This is a jersey of 15 years ago from England, and you can see that they're oversized, they're not fit, they don't have a design, they don't have anything appealing for you consumer, you fan, to go to the store and say, I want to buy that. Saying that, let's move on to what I brought for you. Okay, so this year's kits are unbelievably creative. This is like a creative design war in between brands. It's interesting to see it from the outside that brands are fighting over each other to make women's football cool. The news that came out before the Euros is the one that caught my eye, and I was like, we need to talk about this on the channel. Is the Danish national team. This is quite an interesting story in the marketing side and also on the fashion world. The Denmark's national team is sponsored now by a Copenhagen-based label called Rotate Burger Christensen. This is known as the Scandi Girls go-to outwear brand. So it's really, really trendy, and I think it's a smart move from the Denmark national team to collaborate with a brand that is not just sports, but also streetwear. This brand is not designing the jerseys. They are going to dress the girls and the staff around the Euros with their new collection. So the girls are gonna look all stylish before going into the pitch. And I think that's a cool collaboration that raises interest and also that it stays in-house. So if you're gonna talk about national teams, you gotta source it with national brands. I think that just makes sense, and I thought it was brilliant because it's not just a cool jersey, but it's also about how can we make the game awesome, because I don't want to say it to make the game pretty, but like to make it all 360. So once they go out, it's not just all Nike or Adidas or Puma, but fashion brands are also looking to dress female athletes that are not just superstars, because that's another thing that we're going to talk about in another episode. Another cool release, and I've never seen something like this before, and England is just so visionary when it comes to women's sports. The Lionesses jewelry collection with, again, another local brand. This is from London, and it's called Bazanetti, and they're doing a jewelry collection, which I thought was so cool because, again, it's not just the jersey, it involves everything around it into what the person or the club or the team represents in society. So I thought it was just amazing. The fact that they empower it with local brands, I think is just brilliant and amazing. And to go beyond clothes and do jewelry that represent the lionesses, I think it's amazing. I'm not an expert on jewelry, so I did my research. And the pieces are based on Art Nouveau designs. There are necklaces, rings, and chains, and they are 925 sterling silver. So it's good quality. I went online and I checked, and they go between 100 and 150 euros. So if you're into sports but not so obvious, and you want to add a few details in your outfit and you support the lionesses, this is the item to have. So well done, England. We got a collection outside the pitch. We got jewelry that is also outside the pitch. So let's talk a little bit about the jerseys, the main subject of the episode, and the context. I want to put you into the context and why it's relevant, why is it impactful, right? Because like we said at the beginning, brands were only making jerseys for men, and then the women's would be just the ads on. They would not invest on marketing. They would not invest on the athletes being the faces of the brand. They would not make designs for them. And men and women don't play at the same time. Their tournaments are sometimes a year apart or two. So we're talking about that their jerseys will be 2 years old max. So imagine you going into one of the most important tournaments of your life, and then they give you your new kit, and you know it's not designed for you. You've seen it before. Brand, it's not your size. It affects the way that you're going to perform. So now they feel empowered and be like, this is for me. I got the uniform that represents not just my country, but this new team. So I think that's a pretty cool statement to have, and the comparison of these two eras, let's say, of football. Okay, saying all these Euros kits are unique, sparkling, and edgy. And above all, represents the female athletes and audience, because, it's for us too. So let's have a quick look on what the brands are giving us this year at the Euros. The Portugal one I really like. They got a home and away. I think the away one is the one I like the most because it's like mint. They have Switzerland and Iceland. Switzerland is the host of the Euros World Cup, so it will have a lot of attention, and Portugal will have also a lot of attention because it used to be Nike. So those are the two that Puma are putting their efforts on, and I'm excited. I really like the mint. Then we go to Adidas. Adidas has 6 teams, and they all, of course, represent the culture of each team. Specifically, they got Germany, Spain, Italy, Belgium, Sweden, and Wales. National teams are always going to be traditional, and brands don't usually go too crazy. Where they go crazy is on the away kit. That's where you have to pay attention. So if you want a cool jersey, you gotta look for the away jersey. Belgium, I think it went a little bit out of the box. All yellow, really cool. Germany, it's a 7 to me, but the home jersey, it's kind of vintage, and I know it's an anniversary representation, so it looks more like Adidas originals. Italy, it's the green one. Again, it looks kind of like the Portugal one. It's fine. Maybe it's because I'm not connected to Italy, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of different. I don't think anything crazy. Spain, it's sweet. I like it. It's very romantic. It's Cubism inspired shapes. Sweden, I think it's my favorite, both home and away. The blue kit, the blue, they nailed it, and the yellow, the palette that they're using, I think it's spot on. And I'm not even Swedish, and I would like to have the yellow one. One thing that Adidas is doing is that for the first time, all the 2025 Federation away kits are available in men's, women's, and youth sizes, which can be purchased today. So that's pretty cool that they are focusing not only on women's, but also in men's and kids. So now moving on to the monster Nike, who has half of the teams at the Euros, 8 out of 16. One thing that they're focusing on is like they chose one team and they're making all their campaign and most of their budget, I guess, in women's football, European football, is going to England. But what they're doing around all of their 8 teams is that they are leaning into lightweight body map designs. So they're more women-specific cuts. They got France, England, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, and Finland. And like I said, they're heavily investing in England as their global marketing engine. And I think this comes from the impact that the Lionesses have been doing since they won the Euros last edition, which was in England. It was huge, and the men have never won it. So there you go. These are the results for them. So it's not like if they win, they should invest in them, but now the girls are demanding way more with a trophy in their hands, right? And they're also the runners-up of the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2023. So they have become a powerhouse now in football. Plus, the Women's Super League, which is the league in England, is the biggest league in the world. And so I'm not surprised that Nike is investing way more in England because it has more fan base there. Cool fun fact is that the away kit is also amazing. Like, they went bold, and it's the first time that the Lionesses are going to wear black as an away kit. So I think that's very different considering that they always wear like white or light colors. The kit launched this year in March and was Nike's best-selling women's football jersey ever within 48 hours. So that's England, that's Nike, that's where their money's going, and I think it just makes sense if that is what the market wants. But they're not leaving their other teams behind. Then France has super cool collection with like jackets, hoodies, tracksuits, feminine but bold, so that's cool, because not all girls like pink and being sweet. The golden rose is amazing on the swoosh and on some details. Then we got the Netherlands. I think it's fine, nothing crazy. The away kit is cool. Personally, I don't like that blue, but whatever. You might like it or not. Let me know. The jacket, they have a zip-up jacket that it's kind of like wants to be different with all these polka dots and black one. It's all right. My favorite will be Norway. This one is inspired by modern minimalistic Norwegian design, but the home one is fine, like nothing crazy. Again, I like the cut, the neck cut. But the away one is just beautiful, like that purple, gray, and the shapes. I think it gives something different that you can definitely style it outside the football pitch. Another milestone are the goalkeepers kit. Fun fact for you, but I don't think it's that fun. You can get all the jerseys that you want with all the names, but you can't get the goalkeepers jerseys. Why? Apparently brands say that there's not a market for it. But what about if you were a goalkeeper? What if you were like a young child, you were a goalkeeper, and you have your idols, right? And you want to go to the store and buy their jerseys. Well, it turns out you can't buy them. You can't find them. They don't even make them. So the fact that they are now selling them is thanks to the legend Murray Earps, again from England. She just retired, I think, last year, and she fought for Nike to sell her jersey. You will think that there is some power from an athlete when they talk to the brands, but apparently there were discussions. Nike wasn't sure that it was going to be successful, that people were going to like it, if there was worth the investment. In the end, they believe her, they trusted her, and they release it. And the most beautiful thing is that they were sold out within the first 5 minutes. Within the first 5 minutes, they were sold out. So that's just another way of proving and telling brands people are out there interested and demanding to be represented through also women's sports. So I think that's a beautiful story from Murray Earps, that she just fought for for herself, for as a role model, to represent other girls, to let them know that they can be heard, that they're just leaving a legacy, that girls can dream, that they can change the world, right? So the brands are investing in design, they're investing in fashion, they're investing on the fit, in the technology that they put into the jerseys, but they're also, well, at least Nike, I don't know about the other brands, I tried to research, but nothing came up, at least they're not advertising it, is that for the first time during the Euros, Nike will have women's replica shirts stocked equally with men's in over 120 retail stores all across Europe this summer, because sometimes it's so difficult to find them. And then Nike's highlighted that all their European 2025 Euro kits are made from at least 80% of recycled polyester, calling it their most sustainable women's tournament range yet. So that is progressive. That says a lot of like, we're not just going to make the game beautiful. We're not only invest on her, but we're gonna take the women's sports into our next project of everything has to be different, and we're gonna try out new things. The fact that they're trying with jewelry, they're trying sustainable, they want to add all the sizes. I think that is amazing, that it's not just on the pitch, but also outside the pitch. So you can imagine the lack of identity that these players and the fans were feeling. Although things have been changing, in my opinion, it changed more drastically since 2019 at the Women's World Cup in France. That was a boom. I was very lucky to be there the entire tournament, traveling from all around Europe to come and see women's football. That made a lot of brands to change their perspective of like, whoa, wait a minute, people are interested, people are going, we have to invest. So that's 2019, and that's why we see now so much change right now. There's still a long way, but we are getting there. The sport fan base is growing, and it does help that the jerseys, plus the players, plus the infrastructure around the tournament and the clubs and the industry help us to engage and be like real fans. And you know, because a football jersey is such an iconic thing to wear, it's such a cultural statement. It became like a crazy phenomenon that people cannot explain why we go so crazy about football jerseys, right? So now it just makes sense that brands are investing properly in making jerseys that fit the player firstly, so they can perform better. And then with designs, not just a splash of pink and then assume women are gonna buy it, right? So with design that represents, especially a national jersey that represents the nation, that you're like, I don't care if you're girly or not, that you like football or not, that you see a jersey and you're like, I want that because I am from that nation and, you know, it represents me. I think that's a very interesting insight for the Euros. I hope that you enjoy them if you're gonna watch them. And please let me know which were your favorite jerseys. If there's anything interesting that you found that you didn't know about during this chat between you and I, your sporty friend. And I'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified that there's a new episode coming up every week. So until next time, see ya!